Hello everyone. So a little bit of introduction before we start with today's session. My name is Ruxatak and I have done my BA in Sociology. I'm also pursuing my second year MA in Sociology and I am a UPSC teacher and mentor since last 3 years. Okay, so let's see what we are going to learn today. So it is the ancient philosophies of India. You can say schools of philosophies or darshanas of philosophy, one and the same thing. In Hindi, we will say it as the darshanas of ancient India. Okay, so before we start, let's see the bifurcation of Indian philosophy. So the Indian philosophy has been bifurcated into two broad areas. The first one is the orthodox school of philosophy and the second one is the unorthodox school of philosophy. Now the orthodox, that is also called Astic in Hindi. Okay, Astic and Nastic, you must have heard these words in Hindi. Okay, Astic means orthodox school of philosophy. Orthodox as in which believes in God. Astic is the one who believes in God and Nastic is the one who does not believe in God. Okay, so Indian philosophy is broadly divided into Astic and Nastic. So under Astic school of philosophy, Vedas are primary source of knowledge, and under Nastic, it reject Veda as primary source of knowledge. First, see the bifurcation of Astic. Okay, so the Astic is again bifurcated into two. Under Astic or orthodox school of philosophy, we will have 6 philosophies. That is the main basis of this lesson. Okay, we are going to learn this 6 basic philosophies of ancient India in this lesson. Okay, for this purpose only we are taking up the lecture. Now again, these 6 philosophies are divided into two broad sections. Now these two broad sections are atheistic and theistic. Okay, so under atheistic, we have those philosophy which reject existence of God. That is, they do not believe in the existence of God. In theistic, we have those philosophies which believes in the existence of God. Okay, so 3 philosophies comes under atheistic section and 3 philosophies comes under theistic section. That comes to 6 philosophies. Okay, now under atheistic, we have Samkhya, Nyaya and Vaisheshika. Samkhya is the school of dualism, Nyaya is the school of logic, Vaisheshika is the school of empiricism. Okay, so these are the atheistic school of philosophy. Under theistic school of philosophy, which believes in the existence of God, we have Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, which is also called school of orthopraxy, and Vedanta, or we say it Uttar Mimamsa. Now this is called Mimamsa, just Mimamsa or Purva Mimamsa you can say, and Uttar Mimamsa means your Vedanta. Already even question in prelims have been asked in this purpose, that which of the following does not form the 6 schools of philosophy of ancient India. So you have to bring the odd one out. Okay, so these are the theistic ones. And again, Vedanta has been divided into 5 more schools, of which 3 are given over here: Advaita, Vishishtadvaita and Dvaita, and Neo Vedanta as well. Neo Vedanta we are not going to cover in this lesson because we are just considered with the ancient India, not medieval or modern. And Neo Vedanta is something which is related to medieval and modern. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. That is your orthodox school. So philosophy arose in India as an inquiry into the mystery of life and existence. Okay, the philosophers of that time, okay, the Rishi Munis of that time, they wanted to know the mysteries of life and existence. That why do we live? Where do we come from? What is the meaning of our life? Okay, once we die, what happens to us? Do we have a soul? Some believe that yes, we do have a soul. And if we have a soul, does soul also dies when the body dies? Many believes that yes, when the body dies, everything comes to an end. There is no soul of such a kind. Many other believes that the soul is indestructible. Okay, the soul cannot be destroyed even if the body is destroyed, so that the soul is living in the eternity. The soul cannot be destroyed at all. So this philosophy arose in India as an inquiry into the mystery of life and existence, answering all these questions. So many philosophies came into existence, each philosophy having its own meaning of life and existence. Okay, so we have already understood what is orthodox school. All right. So orthodox Astic, as it is said. Okay, so it is originally called the Sanatan Dharma, very important term. Okay, Orthodox or Astic school was originally called as the Sanatan Dharma, which are collectively referred to as Hinduism in modern times. Okay, so Hinduism is the religion which is based on the Orthodox school of philosophy. Originally, it was called as Sanatan Dharma. Now, what is the source of the Orthodox school? The source of the Orthodox school is the ancient Vedas. So all the 6 schools of philosophies have their roots in the Vedas, the ancient Vedas. Okay, now here I have not explained the Gnostic school. I will do it once we are finished with the Indian, there's Aztec schools. Okay, because then it will be very confusion for you. So just for your clearance, let me tell you that Gnostic school mein 3 schools are there: Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvak. Okay, that's all for now. In detail, we'll be doing when we are finished with the Aztec school. Okay, so let's go on with the first school of philosophy, that is Samkhya. And its proponent, the most famous proponent, was Kapila. Now, according to the early Samkhya philosophy, अब इसमें भी 2 views हैं. One of the view is the early view and the other view is the new view. Now, according to the early view, the world owes its creation and evolution more to nature or Prakriti than to God. That is, Samkhya philosophy is atheistic school of philosophy, as we have seen in the chart. Okay, it does not believe that the world is created by God, but it believes that the world is created by nature, which is called Prakriti. Okay, now this was a rational and scientific view, of course, because it does not believe in the existence of God, that God has created this world and we human beings have created this world. No, it believes that the world is created by nature and we human beings have evolved through the nature. This was the old Sankhya philosophy, early Sankhya philosophy. Now came the new view. Now, according to the new view, one more element was added along with nature or Prakriti. Now, this element is called Purush. Okay, so according to this view, nature and the spiritual element called Purush together create the world. So it is not the Prakriti or nature that alone creates the world, but it requires Purush as well. Now, what is this Purush? So this Purush is nothing but pure consciousness. Okay, so your Purush, that is pure consciousness, and your Prakriti, that is the matter. Okay, consciousness, that is spiritual in nature. Okay, and Prakriti, that is matter, your Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, whatever you say. When union of both this Purush and Prakriti take place, that leads to creation of universe. In the diagram you can see that how universe is created. So here is your Purush, here is your Prakriti. Purush is your pure consciousness, Prakriti is the basis of your matter, that is Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, etc. When union of Purush and Prakriti takes place, it leads to creation of universe. Okay, the universe, the souls, the human beings, and everything else that is existing in this world. Okay, so this is the Samkhya philosophy. Early philosophy is based on the fact that only Prakriti creates the world. New view of Samkhya philosophy says that Prakriti and Purush, union of both these, create the universe and the world. Understood? Clear? Now, a person can attain salvation through the acquisition of real knowledge through these 3 ways. Now, what are these 3 ways? Perception, inference, and hearing. What is your perception? What you perceive of any other person or any other thing? In Hindi, you will say it as pratyaksha. Okay, your inference. What is your inference? Anuman kya hai aapka? And hearing. That is, just don't keep speaking, you have to hear as well. So whether you are able to take the words consciously or not, that will decide whether you have gained or acquired real knowledge or not. Okay, so the main way a person can attain salvation according to Samkhya philosophy is that through perception, inference, and hearing. So combination of all these three things will lead to salvation of a person. Okay, so this was all about Samkhya philosophy, which is important from the perspective of exam. Okay, Samkhya philosophy का जो main proponent है, it is Kapila. We have two views in it. Early view says only Prakriti creates the world. New view says that Prakriti and Purush both create the world, and the person can attain salvation through acquisition of real knowledge. And this acquisition of real knowledge will be through three ways, that is perception, inference, and hearing. Then only a person can attain salvation. That's all about Samkhya. Next one is yoga. This word is very familiar to us. It is not at all new. So this philosophy becomes a quite more easy for us. Okay, so the main proponent of yoga is Patanjali. It literally means the union of two principal entities. Okay, the literal meaning of yoga. The literal meaning of yoga is union of two principal entities, yoga. Okay, now, yogic techniques control body, mind, and sense organs. We know this. Okay, breathing exercises, the Kapalbhati, and all those exercises which controls our body, mind, and organs. Okay, yoga helps in controlling our body, mind, and organs. We know this. Okay, now hence it is considered as a means of achieving freedom or mukti. So according to yoga, you can attain mukti or freedom or salvation through control of your body, mind, and organs. Okay, so this freedom could be attained by practicing all these things, 8 in numbers. Self-control, that is called yama in Hindi or Sanskrit. Observation or rules, we know it, niyam. Okay, fixed postures, जैसे हम बोलते हैं आसन बोलते हैं, योगासना, that is called fixed postures. Breath control, that is your pranayam. Choosing an object, pratyahara. Fixing the mind, dharana. Okay, आप क्या धारणा करते हो, आपने अपना माइंड फिक्स कर लिया है, एक गोल बना लिया है कि मुझे IAS क्लियर करना है, that is your dharana. Okay, so fixing your mind towards a particular goal or objective is dharana. Then concentrating on the chosen object, ध्यान. हम कहते हैं ना ध्यान लगाकर बैठो, मेडिटेशन करो. Okay, उससे आपका concentration level बढ़ता है. So this is the same thing, concentrating on the chosen object, ध्यान. Then complete dissolution of self, merging the mind and the object, that is called samadhi. जो हमारे साधु संत होते हैं जब वो समाधि लेते हैं, okay, they say we are taking samadhi. So this is that kind of samadhi. So through these through practicing these 8 things, okay, these 8 rules or methods, one can achieve mukti or salvation or freedom. This is the perception of yoga, that by practicing all these things, a person can achieve salvation. Now, yoga was a theistic school of philosophy. Okay, yoga admits the existence of God as a teacher and guide. Okay, it admits the existence of God as a teacher and guide. It does not reject the existence of God. Hence, it is a theistic school of philosophy, unlike Samkhya, as we have seen. Okay. Next one is your Nyaya. And the main proponent of this school of philosophy called Nyaya is Gautam Muni. Okay. Now, according to the Nyaya school of philosophy, nothing is acceptable unless it is in accordance with the reason and experience. Again, this is a theistic school of philosophy. That is, it rejects the existence of God. As in, It says that nothing is acceptable. Whatever is written in your books or whatever you are hearing, it cannot be accepted unless and until it have a reason or someone has experienced it. Okay, like for example, if someone is telling a story, a very heroic story of something that the person have killed thousands of soldiers alone, and he was such a hero, no one uh, can kill that person, okay, he or she is immortal. So such stories or such person need to be reasoned, okay, by logic. All right, some other person must have experienced that thing in his or her lifetime to maintain that statement. So if it is not maintained or the reason is not have been arrived at, then that particular story is a story. It cannot be accepted as a reality that has happened in the past. So nothing is acceptable unless it is in accordance with the reason and experience. Hence, it is also called as a scientific approach. Okay, Nyaya philosophy is a scientific approach. It is hence considered as a technique of logical thinking as well. Okay, you apply your mind, thinking that whether really it is possible for someone being immortal. Okay, someone killing thousands and thousands of people alone without any help, and no one able to kill that person. So is it possible? Because in my lifetime or in the lifetime of my father or my grandfather, they have not seen any such person, nor they have heard of it. These are just stories. So you apply your mind in such stories and try to arrive at a conclusion. You compare your you're seeing things in your present time to the past, etc. You draw an inference that whether this thing is possible or not. Okay, hence it is considered as a technique of logical thinking. Now, Nyaya Sutras say that there are four means of attaining valid knowledge. What are the four means of attaining valid knowledge? Perception, inference, comparison, and verbal testimony. Okay, perception, that is what is your perception towards a particular thing. Okay, whether you believe the story or not. If you do not believe the story, then you have to draw an inference, that what is your inference about it. Then you will compare it with other things, okay, that whether the particular thing is possible or not. Then you do it, uh, do a verbal testimony to it. Okay, you will ask other people as well that whether you have really seen such thing in your life, or whether it is logically possible or not. So you will give a verbal testimony to it. So through these four means, attaining valid knowledge is possible. And attaining valid knowledge means a person has attained salvation. Okay, so ultimately these four means will lead to salvation of a person. Okay, that is, he have attained valid knowledge, real knowledge. So here we have four means. If you remember, in Samkhya there were three means: perception, inference, and hearing. Now many students are confused in these things only. Okay, Samkhya mein we had three ways to attain salvation: perception, inference, and hearing. Now in Nyaya we have two common things with Samkhya, that is perception and inference. Okay, two additional things are comparison and verbal testimony. Now, verbal testimony is somewhere similar to hearing of Samkhya. So again, you can say that only one thing is extra, that is comparison. If you can remember it like this: verbal testimony is somewhere similar to hearing or shabda, then it is very easy to remember these things. Okay, Nyaya may we have perception, inference, comparison, and verbal testimony. Samkhya may we have perception, inference, and hearing or shabda. See, it's so easy. Now diagram अगर देखना आपको diagram से समझ आता है, तो here diagram is also given. Okay, so according to Nyaya Sutras, you can attain real knowledge through four ways, four means: perception, that is called pratyaksha, comparison, inference, and word, again, hearing, shabd, okay, one and the same thing, verbal testimony. ठीक है, सेम थिंग है, वो जो संख्या में था वही है, एक चीज जो एक्स्ट्रा है यहाँ पे वो है कंपैरिजन. ऑलराइट, I think it's clear. Next is your Vaisheshika. And the main proponent of this school of philosophy was Kannad. Now, according to Vaisheshika, all objects in the physical universe are reducible to a finite number of atoms. So, the basis of atomic theory, okay, the basis of atoms, we can say it is Vaisheshika school of philosophy. So, what the Vaisheshika school of philosophy said, that all the objects in the physical universe are reducible to a finite number of atoms. This is what physics say, right? So the origin of physics or the basis of physics is Vaisheshika. Now, Brahman is regarded as the fundamental force that causes consciousness in these atoms. Now, which thing is given more important in Vaisheshika philosophy is Brahman, the universe. So Brahman or the universe is regarded as the fundamental force which causes consciousness in these atoms. Okay, these atoms do not have consciousness of themselves. How these atoms gain the consciousness in them, it is due to Brahman or the universe. So this system is considered as the realistic and objective philosophy of universe. So basically Vaisheshika deals with atoms which are created by the universe. So ultimately Vaisheshika school of philosophy is dealing with the philosophy of universe. Okay, so on the other hand, you can say Vaisheshika philosophy is also the philosophy called the philosophy of universe. Okay, now the reality has many bases or categories. Okay, according to Vaisheshika philosophies, the reality has many bases or categories. कौन कौन से bases और categories है, जैसे कि substance, attribute, okay, action, genus, distinct quality and inherence. फाइन, क्या सब्सटेंस है, उसके एट्रीब्यूट्स क्या है, व्हाट एक्शन डज इट परफॉर्म्स, व्हाट जीनस डज इट हैव, वेदर इट हैव अ डिस्टिंक्ट क्वालिटी और नॉट, व्हाट्स इट्स इनहेरेंस, एटसेट्रा. Okay, so these are some of the bases or categories of the reality according to the Vaisheshika school. Okay, now according to the Vaisheshika school, you can gain real knowledge by two means: perception and inference. So till now you must have understood that these two means, that is perception and inference, are common. Okay, in Samkhya it was there, okay, in Nyaya it was there, and in Vaisheshika also it is there. So perception and inference are the common thread in all these three philosophies. Okay, now you have to remember कि इनमें ये जो perception, inference, etc. जो भी दिया है, ये किस किस में दिया हुआ है. Okay, संख्या में है, then you have seen न्याय में है, then you have seen here वैशेषिका में है. Okay, clear till now? Let's move on to the next slide about Vaisheshika. Now, all objects of the universe are composed of 5 elements according to Vaisheshika. Okay, of course, atom theory है, तो इसमें 5 elements तो आने ही हैं. And these 5 elements are earth, water, air, fire, and ether. Earth, water, air, fire, and ether. Earth we know, land, our terrestrial environment, water, oceans, seas, lakes, air, our atmosphere, then you have fire, and lastly ether. Now what is ether? So ether is the material that fills the region of the universe that lies above our terrestrial sphere, that is your earth. Okay, the area that is over and above the earth, which is your terrestrial sphere, this is called ether, which fills the regions of the universe in the space. This is your ether. Okay, and here also the God is guiding principle. So Vaisheshika is the theistic philosophy. Okay, God is the guiding principle, and living beings were rewarded or punished according to the law of karma. Hence, Vaisheshika school of philosophy believes in God as well as it believes in the law of karma. That is, जो जैसा बोएगा वो वैसा पाएगा. अगर आप किसी के साथ बुरा करते हो तो गॉड आपके साथ भी बुरा करेगा. दिस इज द लॉ ऑफ कर्मा. ओके, फॉर गुड डीड्स यू विल गेट गुड in return, and for bad deeds or action you will get bad in return. That is your law of karma. So the Vaisheshika school believes in both God and the law of karma. Clear? Now what happened afterwards is that Vaisheshika and Nyaya schools of philosophy eventually merged into one. Okay, Vaisheshika and Nyaya schools of philosophy merged into one because they shared many things in common. Okay, except that Nyaya did not believe in God, it did not believe in law of karma. Okay, and also Vaisheshika accepted perception and inference as sources of valid knowledge, whereas in Nyaya we had 3 or 4. Okay, you want to revision? So here it is 4. Okay, 3 वाला जो था वो संख्या है, perception, inference and hearing, that is shabd. In Nyaya we have perception, inference, comparison and verbal testimony. So Nyaya and Vaisheshika merged into one, though there were some exceptions, like Nyaya did not believe in God. Okay, we have seen it was a technique of logical thinking. Okay, it did not believe in the existence of God, but Vaisheshika did believe in it. So there were some exceptions, but rest they shared very similar characteristics. Hence, they merged into one. These schools merged into one. Okay, so that's all about Vaisheshika. So what you need to remember in Vaisheshika is that it was a philosophy of universe. Okay, how one will attain real knowledge according to Vaisheshika through perception and inference. Okay, Vaisheshika believes that all objects of universe are composed of 5 elements. Which 5 elements? Earth, water, air, fire and ether. Ether is the substance which fills the gaps in the universe, which lies above the terrestrial sphere of earth. Okay, then it believes in God, it believes in law of karma. Then Nyaya and Vaisheshika merged in future, and there were some exceptions where, as we have discussed, that Nyaya did not believe in God nor in the law of karma, and Vaisheshika believed only in 2 means, perception and inference, whereas Nyaya believed in 4 means. Okay, perception, inference, comparison and word. Okay, verbal testimony. Fine. Then next one is your Purva Mimamsa. Also simply you can say Mimamsa. Mimamsa or Purva Mimamsa, one and the same thing. Okay, the main proponent of Purva Mimamsa or Mimamsa was Gemini. Now, this school of philosophy emphasizes the concept of valid knowledge. And the Vedas are eternal and possess all knowledge. Firstly, it emphasizes the concept of valid knowledge, that a person has to gain a valid knowledge. Now, from where the person will get a valid knowledge? From the Vedas. So Vedas are eternal source of all the knowledge. The person have to read the Vedas in order to get valid knowledge. Okay, so what does it believes in more? So it believes that religion means the fulfillment of duties prescribed by the Vedas, that is dharma. Okay, a person has to follow his dharma, which is the essence of Vedas. The Vedas consist of various dharma. Dharma towards your family, dharma towards your parents, the society, okay, towards God, etc. So a person have to fulfill all his dharma accordingly, which is mentioned in the Vedas. Okay, so religion, what does religion means according to Purva Mimamsa? Religion means fulfillment of duties as prescribed by the Vedas. Okay, this is the definition of religion according to Purva Mimamsa. What does religion mean? Religion means if a person is fulfilling his or her duties as prescribed by the Vedas, then that particular person is a religious person, no matter what, be Hindu hai, Jain hai, Buddhist, it doesn't matter. Okay, whether the person follows idolatry or no, etc. Okay, if that person is following his or her dharma according to the Veda, he believes in Vedas and he is performing his duties as per Vedas, then that person is religious person. This is the definition of religion according to Purva Mimamsa. Okay. Now, what will happen when a person follows his duties as prescribed in the Vedas? So, by the execution of dharma, one earns merit which leads one to heaven after death. So, Purva Mimamsa believed in afterlife. Okay, that is, after you are dead, then your soul will arrive to heaven if you have performed your dharma, your duty well. Okay, if you have not performed your dharma well, that is, you have gone against your dharma, against the Vedas, then you will go to hell after you die. Okay, so this is the main philosophy of Purva Mimamsa. Okay, then you have the Vedanta, which is also called Uttar Mimamsa. Okay, Purva Mimamsa or simply Mimamsa, Vedanta or Uttar Mimamsa. Don't get confused between these two. Okay, simply it is called Vedanta, but it is also called Uttar Mimamsa. And here we have Purva Mimamsa, which is also called simply Mimamsa. Okay, now what does Vedanta says? So the Vedanta philosophy concentrates on the philosophical teachings of the Upanishads. Okay, it concentrates on the philosophical teaching of Upanishads and not on the Brahmanas. All right, Upanishads में क्या दिया है? Mystic or spiritual contemplation within the Vedas. Okay, both are parts of Vedas. Okay, Upanishads and Brahmanas have both have their roots in the Vedas, but Vedanta believes in Upanishads and not on the Brahmanas. Okay, Upanishads में क्यों believe करता है? Because Upanishads have mystic or spiritual contemplation. It is more about spirituality. Okay, it is more about mysticism. And why not Brahmana? Because Brahmanas relates to rituals and sacrifices. Okay, so Vedanta outrightly rejects rituals and sacrifices which are given in Brahmanas, and it accepts the spirituality or mysticism which is given in Upanishads. So basically, you have to remember that Vedanta relies on Upanishads. Okay. Now, इसका जो basic text है, basic text is the Brahma Sutra, which is written by Badrayana. Very important. कभी-कभी एग्जाम में आपको ऐसे ही पूछ लेते हैं, match the column में पूछ लेंगे या simply question में ही पूछ लेंगे that who have written the Brahma Sutra. So it is Badrayana. Okay, Badrayana have written the Brahma Sutra and which forms the basic text of Vedanta. You never know, आपको statements में भी आ सकता है question. Okay, that is Brahma Sutra has been written by Badrayana and it forms the basic text of Vedanta philosophy. So both the statements are true. Now, यहाँ पे ऊपर नीचे कर सकता है यूपीएससी कुछ भी, आपको बदरायाने की जगह कोई और फिलोसोफर डाल देगा या फिर वेदांता फिलोसॉफी की जगह कोई और फिलोसॉफी, सांख्या, न्याय, कुछ भी डाल देगा. सो यू हैव टू रिमेम्बर दिस. ओके, दैट वेदांता फिलोसॉफी का जो बेसिक टेक्स्ट है इट इज ब्रह्म सूत्र, जिसे लिखा है बद्रयाना ने. ओके, क्लियर? नाउ the theory of karma came to be linked to the Vedanta philosophy. Okay, it believed in the theory of karma. Okay, so with Vedanta में आपको फिलहाल इतना ही याद रखना है. This is the most important things from the perspective of examination. Okay, that is it relies on Upanishads. Okay, Brahma Sutra, Badrayana, जो बद्रयाना ने लिखी है, it forms the basic text of Vedanta, and Vedanta also believes in the theory of karma. Okay, now Vedanta, that is end of Veda. Okay, end of Veda. This is how it is interpreted literally. That is end of Vedas, and hence it relies on Upanishads and not completely on Vedas. Okay, Upanishads definitely have its roots in the Vedas, but it is not the Vedas. Okay, it has taken this spiritual contemplation and mysticism from the Vedas. All right. So Upanishads do have its roots in Vedas, but it is not Veda in itself. So here Vedanta expounded that here comes the end of the Vedas, Vedanta. Okay, Vedanta, that is end of the Veda. So now you have to concentrate on the Upanishads. okay, on the Brahma Sutra, which forms the basic text of Vedanta, and it also believes in the theory of karma, that is rebirth or punarjanma. खत्म? Fine. So with this, आपका orthodox school of philosophy खत्म होता है. Now we'll move on to the unorthodox school of philosophy. Now, those schools that do not accept the authority of Vedas are by definition unorthodox. Okay, as I told you initially कि आस्तिक नास्तिक बेसिक टर्म्स है, आपको समझ आता होगा कि आस्तिक आप जब करंट सिनारियो में सुनते हो, आस्तिक is the person who believes in God, नास्तिक is the person who does not believe in God. But in the sense of philosophy, आस्तिक is the school of philosophy which believed in Vedas, authority of the Vedas, and unorthodox schools of philosophy which does not believe in the authority of Vedas. Now you will say कि Vedanta also does not accept the authority of Vedas and it should be in the unorthodox category. No, though Vedanta does not believe in Vedic authority directly, but it does believe in Upanishads which has its roots in the Vedas. Okay, Vedas से ही उसने अपना टेक्स्ट लिया है. The spiritual or mysticism जो भी context है वो सारे के सारे वेदास से ही लिए गए हैं. Okay, so Vedanta is an orthodox school of philosophy. Now, those schools which does not believe in Vedas are called heterodox school. Okay, and these schools are Charvaka, Buddhist, and one name as cut. It is Jaina philosophy. So let's see them in detail. Okay. The main propounder of Charvaka philosophy was Brihaspati. The Charvaka is a materialistic, skeptical, and atheistic school of thought. We know it. According to Charvaka, there is no other world. That is, those people who believe that after one person dies, he or she will go to heaven. And how? If the person have done good deeds, the person will get heaven. Or the person have done bad deeds, then the person will go to hell. So the Charvaka rejects this view and says that there is no other world, there is only one world that you live in. Okay, what life has given to you. Hence, death is the end of humans and pleasure is the ultimate object in life. Okay, once human dies, then this is the end for that particular person. There is no afterlife. So whatever this life has given to that person, he or she should make the most of it. Okay, so pleasure should be the ultimate object in life. Okay, you should be happy, you should gain happiness, you should give yourself pleasure. Pleasure should be the main object in your life and not accepting your fate, that God has made this fate for you, you cannot change it, etc. So this is the main proponent of Charvaka. Okay, now this school of philosophy is also known as Lokayat philosophy. Okay, Lokayat, that is philosophy of the masses. Lok means people or masses. Hence, it is also known as Lokayata philosophy. I think this is more than enough from exam perspective. Okay, Charvaka is a materialistic philosophy. Okay, it believes in no other world. It believes that with death, humans ends and pleasure should be the main object in life. And fifthly, it is also known as Lokayat philosophy. Okay, its main proponent is Brihaspati. Then next unorthodox school of philosophy is the Buddhist philosophy, whose main proponent is Siddhartha Gautama. Okay, Gautam Buddha हम जिसे बोलते हैं. So Buddhism is a non-theistic philosophy whose tenets are not specially concerned with the existence or non-existence of God. Okay, Buddha considered the world as full of misery and considered a man's duty to seek liberation from this painful world. We all know the story of Gautam Buddha. We do or not, right? We knew that at a very young age, Gautam Buddha or Siddhartha left his family, left his kingdom in search of truth. That is why this world is full of misery. Okay, and how a man can attain liberation from this painful world. So these were some answers that Buddha set on his path to seek. Okay, and he did seek all these answers, and then he came to be known as the enlightened or Buddha. Okay, he strongly criticized blind faith in the traditional scriptures like the Vedas. So he was totally against the Vedas because the Vedas, through the Vedas came out the caste system or the Varna system. Okay, Varna system or the caste system. There is some difference between these two. Varna system is a little bit of flexible and caste system is too rigid. So Vedas have the Varna system, which in future converted to caste system. Okay, so Gautam Buddha rejected Vedas because he does not believe that a person who is taking birth in a particular varna belonged to that particular varna only, and he or she cannot change his or her occupation. Why there is so much discrimination? Okay, if a person belongs to a shudra varna, then the person is obliged to be suffering from the hands of the above three varnas, that is Brahman, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. The Shudra person cannot change his fate. Okay, why this is so? Buddha asked so many questions. So ultimately, he criticized and he rejected the authority of the Vedas. Okay, that is, the world is full of misery, and it is a man's duty to seek liberation from this misery. And how the person can seek liberation from this uh, painful world? If you remember, Buddha has given the eightfold path. Okay, so by following this eightfold path, a person can seek liberation or salvation from this painful world. Okay, so this was the Buddhist philosophy. It was a non-theistic, unorthodox school of philosophy. And the third unorthodox school of philosophy is the Jain philosophy, of which the main proponent is Mahavira. Okay, so basic principle is Anekantavada. So Anekantavada is a term, is a principle which is related to Jain philosophy. Now, what is this Anekantavada? Is the idea that reality is perceived differently from different point of view, and that no single point of view is completely true. Okay, if something is true for me, that doesn't mean that it is true for you as well. You might have different perception. Okay, we both cannot share a similar perception or the same perception. We both can have a different perception. That is what Anekantavada, that different persons have different perceptions and different point of view. Okay, so according to Jainism, only the Kevalins, those who have infinite knowledge, who are the Kevalins, Kevalya, you must have heard this word, Kevalya, who have attained real knowledge. Okay, so those who have attained the Kevalya are known as the Kevalins. Okay, so those who have infinite knowledge are called the Kevalins. So these Kevalins can know the true answer, and that all others would only know a part of the answer. ओके, सो जैनिज्म क्या बोलता है कि सिर्फ और सिर्फ वही लोग जिन्होंने कैवल्य अटेन किया है, दोज पर्संस हु हैव अटेन्ड द कैवल्य एंड बिकम द कैवलियंस, दे हैव इन्फिनिट नॉलेज एंड दे कैन गिव true answer to any questions, and the remaining population, the remaining people know a fraction of these answers. Okay, so this is the main philosophy of Jainism. Here you cannot see mention of the Vedas or any of its proponents or any of its philosophy or principles. Okay, so Jainist and Buddhist, both of these reject the authority of Vedas as such, and Charvaka is a materialistic philosophy after all. Okay, though Buddhist and Jain philosophy believes in salvation, Charvak philosophy is a materialistic philosophy. It does not believe in salvation at all. Charvaka philosophy says that until you live, you enjoy your life. Okay, you enjoy every pleasure in your life, because after you die, there is nothing beyond that. With death, humans dies. Okay, humans ends. Okay, there is no afterlife, though Buddhist and Jain philosophy believes in salvation. Charvak does not. Okay, so that's all about the ancient Indian philosophy, I think. Please try to remember all these things. These are very important from the perspective of exams. Okay, so I'll take your leave now. Thank you so much.